Hey, good evening, everybody. What's going on? I hope everybody is doing well. Hope everybody is having a great time today, and I hope your week going well. Hope your week is going well. I'm having a blast. I can just say that I'm having a blast in this cold weather up here, but I'm gonna continue to enjoy it. And the reality is, just make the best out of whatever. But I'm glad to be back for another week, and I'm glad that I'm able to share with you all. So again, man, make sure that you guys let me know where you're tuning in from. Share this. Let people know that you're in the building. And we're gonna get started, man. I'm excited about this week. A lot of stuff going on. I'm just very excited. Just in general, just excited about life. But excited about a lot of different things going on for me. Not just not in the sense that I'm saying like not in the brag, but I'm just excited about where my life is headed in 2022. Excited about the shift in the mindset. I'm excited about just being alive and working towards being a better me. So as I'm doing right now, share it with somebody. Let somebody know that you're tuning in. Let somebody know that that you're watching, and enjoying this conversation. Join this conversation, because tonight conversation, like every week, really feel is going to be one that's going to resonate with a lot of people, and I just want to make sure we get people to join in on it. I'm gonna share this one a few more times, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. Here we go. But hey, we've been having some crazy weather up here. The last 2 days since Wednesday, it didn't snow today, thank God, but we got like almost 3 feet, 36 inches of snow, about 32 to 36 inches of snow that we got. So I'm thankful for me having my snowblower, because I've really been putting that to use. But one more share, and then we're gonna get started, man. Tonight conversation is something that is real. I think something that can really hit home for a lot of us. Because it's something that I feel that everybody deals with, and I feel like it's necessary to have the conversation about. But before all of that, I wanted to show this. So I'm be giving away a free T-shirt tonight. So starting to some new things coming in. Starting to sell some T-shirts. One of the T-shirts I'm rocking right now, I'm gonna let y'all see it. Y'all can see I got the, that 334-205-256-251-938-659, representing those area codes in Alabama. That's just one of the designs that's coming out. And one listener tonight will win this T-shirt. And here we go. Everybody see it, right? That's one of my acronyms that I have, of faith. And this faith is just fatherly affection initiated through hope. I say it again, fatherly affection initiated through hope. So that is what that will be tuning in. That will be what will be given away towards the end of the show. And good luck to whoever get it. Will be sending it out to you guys this week. These shirts will be available soon for purchase. So let me know once I get it. I get the information out so that you can have it. Shout out to my old platoon sergeant, Daniel Vallad, tuning in from Netzenberg, Germany, all the way from Netzenberg, Germany. So hey, shout out to you, man. I hope you're staying warm over there in Germany. Again, let somebody know. Tune in. And to win this, just need you to share this. I need you to go on all of the social media platforms. I got I'm on Instagram at the Conversation 98. I'm on YouTube right now. We're uploading on YouTube, so we got YouTube at the Conversation 98. So we're just trying to expand to give different people opportunity to take advantage of what's being put out there. So I'm excited, man. So just excited about that, and excited about what's going on. But we want to jump right into what we're talking about tonight. And tonight we're going to talk about, this is season 3. It's episode 73. I'm not season 3. It is just episode 73. I done got tongue-tied. A lot of stuff going on. I'm about to make that corrections right now. But it's episode 73. So in this episode, what we're going to do is we're talking about addressing the difference between prioritizing yourself and being selfish. I say that again. We're going to talk about addressing the difference between prioritizing yourself and being selfish. Now, why are we having this conversation about that? Because I feel, and this is somebody, and I'm just speaking from personal experience, that a lot of times it's a battle. It can be a battle when we and a lot of times it can be a battle when we try to figure out prioritizing ourselves and being selfish. Because especially if you're a natural giver, you always want to give of yourself, and you feel it's a natural part of you to give of yourself. But when you start to prioritize yourself or feel like you're doing for yourself, you start feeling guilty and feel like you are actually being selfish. Now, the balance with that, or the battle between that, is, you have to learn how to balance that, because there are some selfish people, or there's some people who will just continue to keep getting from you. They may not be just so selfish in of themselves. They'll just keep receiving because you give it. But we have to get to the point to where, okay, how do I balance me being a giver and me giving to others and me giving to myself? And I wanted to talk about that. That's what I really wanted to talk about, because, and also too, you can prioritize yourself and still be selfish. And that's what I wanted to talk about. I really want to talk about that from that perspective, because sometimes we find it hard to find that balance. And I want to talk about finding that balance, or identifying the difference in it, the difference in you prioritizing yourself and being selfish. And sometimes it can be the same, and sometimes it can be different. But I wanted to talk about that difference, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So what do you mean by this? So I want to start this off. by telling the truth. All right. Choosing yourself for the sake of yourself at the expense of yourself is selflessness. Now, choosing yourself for the sake of yourself at the expense of others is selfishness. See, that's the difference. And I want everybody to understand that difference, because the dynamic between the difference of how you understand and tell a difference between the two really boils down to who's paying the bill at the expense of who. And that's what we have to look at, because a lot of times we put things on other people. That means we're being selfish. If it's at the expense of yourself, then you're being selfless. Now, what we have to do is we have to learn, how do you balance that? Because that's not something that we really talk about. That's not something that we grow up and we have conversations about. That's something that through life, this little word called life, that we find ourselves having to figure out. Because we grow up with this ideal of so much stuff. We grow up with this ideal of how we're going to be, and we have ideas of all of these relationships, and we have an idea that I'm going to grow up, I'm going to get married, I'm going to have kids, and life is just going to be happy, and all things going to go my way. And when we get into life and we start fulfilling these roles that we said that we wanted, what we find ourselves operating at a deficit, because we really wasn't taught how to have balance. Because the reality is, we're all are selfish to a certain degree. It's all about how you manage it. That's why I'm talking about the difference between you prioritizing yourself versus being selfish. That's why I'm talking about it, because guess what? When we prioritize ourselves at the expense of others, that's when it's really becomes selfish. Now, one of the things about it, Daniel said this, he brought this up, at the expense of your family, like military life. Yes, and I'm definitely going to talk about that. And this is and I'm glad you brought that up, because selfishness will have us try to use others to justify us neglecting them or being selfish. For example, I talked about this a few weeks ago. But for example, if I'm always working, if I'm always chasing that promotion, if I'm always spending time away, and I can say that I'm quote unquote doing the work of God, or I'm quote unquote working to make sure that they had what I didn't have, or I'm doing all those things, I'm really being selfish. Because it's not about them. I'm not concerned about what my family may need. I'm not concerned about they want me to be there. I'm not concerned about all of those things. I'm really using that as an excuse for me to achieve the goals that I want to achieve, to me to achieve the rank that I want to have, for me to get the affirmation from my work peers, affirmation from the workplace that make me feel good, but I'm doing it at the expense of my family. That is selfishness. That is selfishness. That's an example of selfishness. That's an example of being selfish. Now, when we talk about what's you saying? So what's an example of prioritizing yourself at the expense of yourself? Let me give y'all an example. I can remember growing up, and it didn't really hit me until later when I got older. I just started to realize something. I can remember growing up and seeing my mom worked a 9 to 5. We'd get up, worked in Greensboro. We rode from Uniontown to Greensboro every morning. I saw my mom get up, go to work. And then on the weekends, I used to see my mom staying up late. And I saw my mom stay up late. I saw my mom sitting in the bed, doing homework, writing papers, doing all of those things. And I saw that, and I didn't really think about it. And that went on for about a period of about a year. A little bit over a year. And what my mom was doing was she was sacrificing her sleep. She was sacrificing her time. She even went above and beyond, because we never felt like we went without at all. But she did that for the sake of herself, so that she can get her degree, which would in turn benefit the family. So that was an act of, she prioritized herself, because at that time she knew that she needed to accomplish this goal. So guess what she did? She sacrificed. She put forth the work. She sacrificed her time with doing things with us. On some weekends, instead of I see mom, we just go to my grandmama's house. It wasn't a big deal to us at the time when we was younger, but I saw my mom make those sacrifices. That was a selfless sacrifice. That was at the expense of her, with her time, with her energy. We didn't go without. She didn't neglect her responsibilities as a mother. She didn't push off on us, on other people, for the sake of herself, because her heart was to accomplish that goal, which was a goal of hers. And I applaud her for finishing her degree. But we didn't benefit. We benefited from her decision, but we weren't impacted by it in a negative way. That is a difference. That's one of the things, how you can prioritize yourself without being selfish. And like I said before, it's really all boils down to who paying for it. It all boils down to who paying for it. It boils down to who paying for it, because whoever is paying for it will define if it's selfless or selfish. Like I said before, prioritizing or choosing yourself for the sake of yourself at the expense of yourself is selfless. But choosing yourself for the sake of yourself at the expense of others is selfish. And I say that again all the time, because guess what? That is something that we really need to look at and dissect and pull apart. Because once we look at it and dissect it and pull apart, once we can start to identify what is our motives. Because we cannot, no matter how much we lie, our motives will always come through with our actions. Period. You can try to lie to yourself about this, that, and the third, but your motives will always come through in your actions. And if it's at the expense of yourself, that's one thing. At the expense of others, that's another. So now, how do I come to balancing prioritizing me? So, Shep, what you mean by how do you balance prioritizing yourself, and not be selfish? That doesn't. Now, this is what I mean by that. If you need a day, if you need to get away, if you may be feeling overwhelmed and you just need some space, that's not being selfish. That's not being selfish. Matter of fact, that is actually, a lot of us, we are so bad at that we're operating so much in a deficit that we don't even know, that we don't even know why we're being overwhelmed, or why we're dealing with anxiety, why we got high blood pressure, why we got all this, that, and the third, because we're going. And always, and watch this, that's a dangerous thing to not prioritize yourself for the sake of others. Always. Because when you don't have balance, guess what? When something is in balance, it's not going to work. The Bible said a just weight, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is to his delight. And that's in Proverbs, and that scripture, what that really defining is, you have to define that balance. And balance is not always equal. It's not all about equality. Balance is really defined in equity. So Cato said, yes, he was talking when I was talking about balance. And my niece said, the hard part is finding the balance. And Megan, I'm really about to jump into that. I'm about to jump into that right now. Hey, how you doing, Sharon? How you doing, Sharon? Good to see you. And what's going on, Miss Paige Bank? What's going on? Now, really, how you define that balance? Defining that balance, man, that's a good thing. When you talk about defining that balance is finding. I'm sorry. Let me start over. True balance is found in not in equality, but true balance is found in equity. And the difference between equal, like everybody want to talk about equality. Equality is good, but all the time is not good, because everything don't need the same thing. For example, when I look at balancing, when I'm balancing something out, right? You can have something that's small but weighs the same as something that's big, or carry the same value. For example, if I had 1 quarter on this side, and I put 25 pennies on this side, even though equitable, they're the same value, they will be different in weight. They'll be different in quantity. So a lot of times what we got to really do is we got to find out, okay, what is the equitable value, instead of always trying to feel like that everything has to equal in quantity. So for example, some kids I may need to spend some time with. I may need to spend like some sit down with them or whatever. And some kids I just may need to just stop in, text them or whatever. You know, you got to figure that out. You have to understand with the people that you choose to play, put home, choose to have close around you, choose to have in your inner circle. You got to figure out what is the equitable thing that I need to give up to them. But one thing you have to do is you got to start to put yourself first. But putting yourself first doesn't mean you neglect other people. Putting yourself first is realizing that you can't give the others if you don't have nothing. One thing that I've learned that prioritizing me doesn't mean that I'm neglecting something else. It doesn't mean that I'm neglecting something else. What it means is prioritizing me is that I'm taking care of myself so that I can continue to do for others. But I can't operate at a deficit, because if I operate at a deficit, then I'm doing myself and the other people no good. My niece just said, you can't pour from an empty cup. That is true. You have to, and I'm glad she said that, you have to maintain your own cup. You have to maintain your own cup, because if you don't maintain your own cup, no matter what is being poured into it, if it got leaks, if it got cracks, if it's not being maintained or taken care of, then whatever's being poured will leak out. And then you're not the same value. You're not able to hold the full capacity of what you were designed to hold. And you are responsible for maintaining your cup. You are responsible for maintaining yourself. You are responsible for maintaining your health. You are responsible for maintaining your finances. You are responsible for maintaining your well-being. You are responsible. And we give that so much to other people. And we wondering why we operating at a deficit. Why do I always feel drained? When the last time you prioritized yourself? That's the question. When the last time you prioritized you? Listen to what I'm saying. Prioritization doesn't always mean that I come first. Prioritization means that I put it in the right place. And I want everybody to understand that when you have true prioritization, you'll find harmony and you'll find accord to come in that place. I say this, I'm gonna say this. My kids, I will always prioritize my family to be taken care of. Always have, always will. That will never change. But if I'm not mentally at a place, physically at a place that I can't provide for them, then what good, how can I take care of them? So I have to prioritize me to the point to where I know I'm eating well. I know I'm staying physically fit. I know I'm doing those necessary things so that I can be in a position to continue to be a provider for my family. That doesn't mean I don't neglect. That doesn't mean that my family don't come before me. That doesn't mean I'm not going to look out and make sure they good. That doesn't mean that I'm just going to neglect them and just go for me. No. What that means is I know that I have to make sure that I take care of me so that I can be in a position to take care of them. Now, one of the hardest things is a lot of times as a giver, we got to be careful. I'm going to tell y'all right now, we got to be careful. And this is one of the things that givers really suffer from. Givers, a lot of times we give with the expectations that we will receive the same capacity that we give to others. And we give to the point to where we never get back what we're giving to others. So we become frustrated that we're pouring into others that's not pouring back into us. But the issue is not the fact that we're giving, it's really our expectation. Because we're expecting the other person to reciprocate us. We got to accept that the other people can only reciprocate who they are. And that's friends and family. And a lot of times we're mad or we're frustrated because we're expecting other people to reciprocate back to us that really don't have the capacity to do it. But we convinced ourselves that if I do that for them, then in turn they'll give it back to me. That's on you. And I will tell you, that's a hard lesson that I had to learn. That's a hard lesson that I had to learn. My mom said, givers never get back what they give. They do. They do. Givers get back what they give. They just don't get it back in the same manner. And that's one thing that I had to learn. Because one thing that was frustrating for me was I was compelled to give. I'm compelled to be a giver. I'm compelled to be a giver. It is a part of my DNA. That's just a part of my makeup. I've always been like that from a little kid, right? But then you get to the place where I remember being at the gas station with my dad. I was about 9, 10 years old. And I was at a gas station. I can't remember. I think we was in either Uniontown or Greensboro. But I was at the gas station with my father. And somebody was there, and I was out there. I was just trying to help somebody pump gas. And my dad had told me, Robert, he said, Robert, it was a good thing you did, but you can't help everybody. And at the time, that kind of confused me because I'm like, dude, I see you helping everybody. What you talking about? But I understand the wisdom in what he told me now. And the wisdom in what he told me that was, the wisdom in what he was telling me was the fact that even though you have the heart to give to everybody, you got to learn who to give to. And that's lesson. I mean, one of the best lessons you can learn that is with money. With money. Listen, you can help people. You can do a lot of stuff behind the scene and never tell nobody. You can help people at their lowest point, and people will just take that and go with it and act like you never did anything. And what I've learned is if I commit to do something for somebody, I commit to doing that act as if I'm doing it unto God. That would really help me. And that's what Mama said. My mama said, givers will never get what they get back. So when I choose to do it as I'm doing unto the Lord, I don't have an expectation to get back what I gave. So what that does is I get my satisfaction out of my willingness to be obedient. And I don't just give it to everybody. You know, I ain't stupid. Just because I got a big heart don't mean anybody walk up, here you go. No. Because some people I don't trust, and I ain't gonna give you that. That's just a fact. That is not trying to be funny. That's just a fact of what it is. But learning that, I realized some people I've given stuff to, and I realized that door is closed. Because guess what? You can't continue. You control how much you give. You control how much you give. And the reason why I say you control how much you give is the fact that a lot of times we frustrated because we give, but we keep giving and we expect the other people to just stop receiving. No, you giving. That's on you. And that's a lesson that I had to learn. And once I had to learn that, to realize, guess what? They got me in that sense, that door is closed, and I just move on. My mom said, listen to the Holy Spirit. Yes, I agree. Listen to the Holy Spirit. But I also tell you is use common sense too. Common sense. Listen, I said this at the beginning of 2022. Man, look, reciprocate. That's my word for 2022. Reciprocate. If I can't get the same energy back that I'm giving to you, you can get something from me, but it won't be returned. I'll move on. Because gone are the days that I just keep giving. Listen, man, be careful. Because listen, whatever, and especially when you're dealing with people, and I'm saying this, I hope this bless somebody. When you're dealing with people will always prioritize or make time for what they want and who or what is important to them. So if you always find yourself as an option and you're waiting for them to make you a priority, you got to go ahead on and realize that, you know what? All right, they showed me who they are. I ain't got no love lost. I'm moving on. Period. I'm moving on. Because them folks gonna prioritize themselves. They're gonna take for it themselves and keep moving on. And we can't talk about that. And a lot of times they're not being selfish. They're not. We get mad at them and we categorize them as being selfish. We just the fools that giving to them. I mean, look at it. If somebody gonna keep giving you $100 every week, would you not take it? $1,000 every week or a month? Would you just not take it? I mean, that's how you have to look at that, right? Now, I want to talk about the other side, prioritizing yourself because you're selfish. Because you're selfish. My mom said, it's because of that hat that they don't want to reciprocate to you, War Eagle. Roll Tide, Mom. Roll Tide. But I want to just talk about you prioritize yourself because you're being selfish. And Daniel brought up a very valid point. He said, everyone must pull their weight. Take care of yourself. Your circle. Take care of your circle. But when I prioritizing yourself, because you're selfish, right? There are certain things, and you see it a lot. You know, I see parents have kids young, and then when they get older, they feel like, they feel like, they done raise their kids, or their kids get a little, and then they start prioritizing themselves, start going out, doing things that they didn't get a chance to do because they had kids young and all that. If you're doing that, you're dead wrong. Why? What you mean by that? I ain't say that you can't go out and have fun. I'm not saying that you can't do anything. What I'm saying is, if your mindset is about you finally getting yours, but you still have kids, you made that choice. That's a selfish choice. If it's at the expense of you not being there for your kids when they get older, or you just let them have so much freedom so you can go do your thing, that's being selfish. You know, when we are a lot of times, I'm talking on this because this hits home for a lot of people. A lot of people use their jobs and them making money as an excuse of taking care of their family. What they really doing is they are being selfish because it's really about them and feeding their ego or filling whatever void that they have with chasing those accomplishments. And you can see it because I've seen people do it all the time in the military. They're so focused on making a rank that they prioritize their career is a number one priority. Now I'm speaking in the military. Their career is their top priority. I read about Skip Bayless, and they're talking about who's on Undisputed, and talked about his wife. And when they first started dating, they've been married for years now, but he said when they first started dating, he laid it out to her that, you know, his career came first. I mean, for me, I respect that he put it out there, but for me, that doesn't fit well with me. But I know some people that do. But they never had kids because he said he don't feel that what he's putting into his job, he will be able to be there for his kids. And I respect him for that because he done a self-evaluation and he know where he stood. A lot of people won't do that. A lot of people will have kids and then put them off on other folks with daycare and all this stuff to chase whatever, and you can achieve whatever at what expense? How do you define you being selfish? It's at the expense of somebody else. Period. It's at the expense of somebody else. You making promises to your kids that you're gonna come see them, but you don't go see them because you got plans with another boo thing. So they come before your kids. You see what I'm saying? But then we leave a void, that type of stuff leave a void in those kids that can carry on for generations to generations to generations. And then we don't ever want to address it, but it's really rooted in us being selfish. It's us being selfish. You know, the key thing we have to do is prioritizing ourselves. Is we have to get to the place to where, all right, what is balance? What does balance look like? Balance look like where you're able to comfortably, what I mean comfortably, you're able to comfortably operate in a capacity of peace, of harmony within your circle. Within your circle. That's balance. That's how I define balance. Because balance may not mean like I may not be able to go to every game or be at every event. I may not be able to. But whatever I am able to do, that's what I do. Like for me, for example, my job, I'm in the military. Sometimes there's been times that I had to deploy. There's been times that I had to go away and go do tours overseas. Unaccompanied tours overseas, and I go do that. I've done that. I made those sacrifices so that I can provide for my family. But watch this. Watch this. My family has always been a priority to me, and I've always communicated to them that guess what? They are a priority to me. As a matter of fact, I chose to go on an unaccompanied tour just so that my family can be closer together. Because my oldest daughter was getting ready to graduate high school, and by me choosing to go on an overseas assignment, that allowed my family to be right there with her. So I made the sacrifice of going somewhere by myself for a year so that my family, because I prioritize my family at the expense of myself. Because that year I wasn't able to be there with my family. That ain't no, there ain't nothing to pat nobody on the back. That's just a reality of me prioritizing my family. Now, I could have been selfish. I had the other options. I could have went and left my family in Virginia and chose to go on another assignment and left them there and go chase another assignment that probably would have, quote unquote, helped me look better in my career. But I tell you, every time that I prioritize my family, God has always made it to where everywhere I go, it benefited everybody mutually. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that because I truly believe the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. And watch this, God worked that thing out because even by doing that, it was a divine route for me to go that way, to be connected and meet people that I should have connected with. And it helped me prepare me professionally and personally. I grew a lot just from that experience. So I'm thankful for that, right? But one thing I did have to learn was I had to learn how to prioritize me and not feel guilty about it. Don't feel guilty about if you always making sure everybody else is good. Don't feel guilty about doing something for yourself. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't allow yourself to beat yourself up like that. Don't feel guilty because you're going to buy yourself something. Now, if you one of them parents where you going to get your hair and nails did and your kids got snotty nose, snotty pampers and doing all that, that's a different story. That's something right there, we got to talk about. But what I'm talking about is when you prioritizing yourself, that means that from time to time, get you something. From time to you the one working hard, get you something. Take some time out for you. Go on that trip. Do something you want to do. Do something you want to do outside of involving your kids or outside of involving someone. Do something for you. That's necessary. And that's why I said, Daniel said, sometimes you got to do it alone. You have to. You have to. And don't feel guilty about it. And that's the balance. That's what you got to learn. That's where you have to train yourself to realize that I'm doing this for me, not at the expense of my family. Like for real, like you go on trips and the whole time you're on your trip, everything you're doing on your trip is, I can remember when Robert was born, me and his mom had went down to Alabama. And I can remember we went to Meridian, went to the movies in Meridian, right? And Robert was a baby. I'm talking about he was a baby. And went to the movies in Meridian, went on a little date or whatever. And I can remember this was her first time like kind of being away and she kept wanting to call. And I told her, put that phone down. Put that phone down. He good. This is prioritizing us. And that's in anything. If you prioritize yourself, prioritizing, if you're in a marriage and you got kids, if you don't prioritize your relationship, then it's gonna go downhill. And you can't use your kids as an excuse. You didn't prioritize that. You have to make time for yourself. You have to make time for those things that are important to you. My mama said, but don't do it at the expense of taking care of your family. That is true. For example, don't pay $200 for a massage, but your lights about to be cut off. That's different. And I'm talking about being responsible. But take that time for you. Take that time for yourself. Because taking that time for yourself, it would do a whole lot more than what you think. Prioritizing you will do a whole lot more than what you think. Identify when you are being selfish. Identify those things when you are being selfish, right? If you're trying to achieve goals, especially if you're in a relationship and it's always about you, it's always about you doing what you want to do. It's always about you having your way. It's always about you accomplishing your goals. You selfish. I'm telling you right now, not only you selfish as hell. And I say that and I mean that. And the reason why I mean that is because your selfishness is rooted in entitlement and taking other people for granted. It's rooted in entitlement and taking other people for granted. And that's a dangerous place to be because when you're there, you never consider other people. And you're always looking at it from what you can get. If you're at that place and you realize you're at that place, you can make it right. You can look out and you can go back to the people and say, hey, look, I'm wrong. I apologize. And just start doing it. And a lot of times it's all about consideration. And if you're a giver, a lot of the givers, this is word to the givers, right? Word to the givers. I'm speaking to the givers, right? A lot of times what you're looking for is somebody to reciprocate appreciation. You're not looking for them to give you the same thing. What you're looking at them to do is reciprocate a level of appreciation for the things or the sacrifice on the things that you do or sacrifice or choose to do for them. That's where the frustration come in at. And that's where you have to get to a place where, okay, are you willing to continue to do that? Or are you willing to take a stand and say, you know what, I can't keep giving, and you're not going to take the time and energy to even reciprocate back the things that I need from this. And a lot of times we get it and we can talk material things, but when you start dealing with this, and this is in relationships with people in general, not just in a intimate relationship, but just in relationship with people in general, right? You go in and no matter what, you're trying to see where it's mutually beneficial. Where is it mutually beneficial? Not from a equality standpoint, but from an equitable standpoint. Because we can play different roles in relationships, but if it's equitable, then there's a balance. But if there's no equity, there's nothing as far as with mutual, it's not mutual beneficial, then what good is it? Stop draining yourself as a giver when you're connected with or connected to somebody who refuse to reciprocate and refuse to give to you in a capacity that is mutual. And I understand there's different seasons. I get it. There's different seasons, different roles we have to go through. I get that. But what I'm talking about is the all of the seasons, and it's the same energy. You got to start addressing that. But the difference, I said again, the difference between prioritizing yourself and being selfish is really found in who's paying for it or whose expense of it is. And like I said before at the beginning, I said it then and I say it again now. Choosing yourself for the sake of yourself at the expense of yourself is selflessness. Choosing yourself for the sake of yourself at the expense of others is selfishness. And that's how you know the difference. That's what really, in its simplest form, break down the difference between you prioritizing yourself and being selfish. And if it's at the expense of others, you need to look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, what am I going to do different? Sometimes some people probably don't even care. They probably don't even care that they're doing it. Right? But just think about the damage that's being done to those around. If you ever dealt with somebody who just a taker and they just take and never give, that can leave some emotional damage. And a lot of people are emotionally damaged right now because they deal with those people. They have to live with those people. They're in relationship with those people. And it's a hurtful thing. And people walking wounded. They're walking wounded in silence because they don't even know how to address it or what's going on. And they find themselves perpetually frustrated because they're operating at a deficit. They're operating at an emotional deficit. They're operating at a financial deficit. They're operating at a deficit because they always find themselves the one giving but not receiving. And in those moments, if you find yourself like that right now, you have to prioritize you. You have to prioritize you. You got to. And prioritizing you is just saying, you know what? I'm going to do this for me because I need it. Now, I know I talked about my mom earlier, but one thing I would say too, my mom prioritized the family and sacrifice when she go to school. But I also seen my mom work herself to death trying to do too much. And she had to learn that balance of The balance of how do I take care of my husband, my kids, my job, and all this. She had to learn what her balance was and what her equitable balance was, not equal. Because we can burn ourselves out feeling like everything got to get the same energy, the equal amount of energy. No, it don't. You know, analyze your bubble, assess the people that's close to you, and realize what they need. For example, I got my dog Peanut. My dog Peanut, every time I do this show, he sits right there to the left of me, sit right there on the floor. He right here right now, right? Peanut, he loves affection, right? But I know that if I give him about 2 days out of the week, 2 to 3 days out of the week, if I pick him up and give him a good old belly rub to the point where he's licking his tongue out, I know he know that that's my time with him. And it's good. But like my kids, I got 4 kids. My 4 kids are all different. Each one of them needs something different. I can't treat them all the same because they got different personalities. I love them all from an equitable standpoint, not an equal standpoint. But that my love for them, my love for them is still the same. But what I have, my energy and my effort is equitable. So that's what I mean. And I hope this helps somebody. I really hope this helps somebody realizing that prioritizing yourself is not a bad thing. But when you prioritize yourself for the sake, at the expense of your family, at the expense of your kids, at the expense of those close to you, I see so many people make that man, your job is your number one priority. Everything comes, your job is the number one thing, and your family suffering. You working too much. You wore out. You tired. You always tired from giving to something else, but not to the people that God has blessed to have close in your life. And you're trying to wonder why your life is so dysfunctional, because you don't have balance. You don't have balance. So I would just tell you this, and I would say this, this goes to a conversation me and my mom had. This right goes to a conversation me and my mom had. Right? A lot of us have a problem, and a lot of us seem selfish in relationships because we really like the ideal of the relationships, but we didn't want to embody the reality of the relationship. What do you mean by that, Chef? A lot of us have the idea that we want to be a wife, but we don't have the heart to embody what it is to be a wife. A lot of us have the idea that we want to be a husband, but we don't have the heart or the mindset to embody what it takes to be a husband. And a lot of them, what I mean by that is when we have the ideal of it, we like the idea, but when it comes to embodying it, we have to put the work to become that. That's why in the Bible said he who finds a wife, not he who finds somebody willing to get married, not he who finds a woman, but he who finds a wife finds a good thing. And that's speaking to the aspect of there's a lot of people that can have kids. There's a lot of women that can have kids that's not mothers. There's a lot of men that can procreate and create and father children, but are not fathers. But there's also some women who can't have kids that are the embodiment of what a mother is. And the same thing with men. There are men who can't have kids that are the embodiment of what a father is, because they chose to condition their minds to embody. That means to take on, to fully become what they chose to do. And it boils down to a choice. It boils down to a choice. A lot of us like the idea. Matter of fact, I'm gonna say this. A lot of us like the man. Look, I'm gonna go ahead on and say this. I'm gonna say this, and I don't care what nobody say. A lot of us love the idea of something, but don't want to put the work in for the reality of it. And we wonder why once we get that idea, we obtain that idea, why we always mad and irritated by it. Because you really didn't want it. You didn't want it. Some people like the ideal of a dog, but not the reality of a dog. Some people like the ideal of a pet, but not the reality of a pet. Some people like the ideal of having a car, but not the reality of having that car. Because once you get that car, it's not that you get that car, but what you do is this. You get that car, now you got to pay for oil change. Now you got to put gas in it. Now you got to keep it clean. Now you got to maintain the maintenance and get tune up and all of this stuff, get the tires balanced, rotated. That all costs money. I like the ideal of having a car and driving the fun with it, but do I like the responsibilities that come with it? You gotta want that, all of that. You gotta want to embody that to fully enjoy it. And a lot of us, we're jumping into things and we don't want that. Brandon said this. She said, maintain a balance in those things. You have to be self-aware. That is so true. She also said, marry someone that wants to be a husband or a wife, not someone that only wants a spouse, not actually be present in that role. Well, that's a whole nother show. I can deep dive into that one, but that is so true. And my mom talked about my grandparents, my grandparents, little mama and players. They couldn't have kids. They couldn't have kids. And my grandfather was in a very bad situation, to the point to where my great grandmother, who knew Lil Mama and Players, my great grandmama Lily, who knew Lil Mama and Players, they were friends, and she knew the heart that they had, that she gave my grandfather up to be adopted by them to get him out of the situation that he was in. And through their love for my grandfather, I know for a fact, without a shadow of a doubt, it saved his life and it's put his life on a trajectory that impacted so many others. Even though he had to deal with the pains of his childhood and the pains of being given away, he went to a situation where he was embodied with love. And to two people who physically couldn't have kids, was the best parents that he could have ever had, because they embodied it. They wanted it. Now, prioritizing yourself for the sake of yourself is a necessity. But at what expense? Not at the expense of others, not the expense of your kids, your family, not at the expense of others. No. I was talking to my mom. You know, I went to college. I laugh now. I was enrolled in college, enrolled at Alabama A&M for 3 semesters. I ended up flunking out because I never went to class, right? I never went to class. But watch this. When I flunked out, about 2 weeks after I had to sit out a semester. No, not 2 weeks. I say about a month after I had to sit out a semester, I was at Fort Benning, Georgia for basic training. Because I made the decision that, guess what? I made a decision. My decision to not go to class, it didn't cost my parents one dime for my college education. I made the decision. I messed up. I chose not to go to class. It wasn't nobody else. I wasn't blaming nobody else but myself. I chose not to go to class. And guess what? I paid for it. So this is what I want to do. I want to do this. Go ahead and get this t-shirt away. I want to get a t-shirt away, right? So I want to get it away. We'll get it away shortly. I just wanted to show that to everybody. Georgia White said it, said they want to be casual husbands and wives, casual moms and dads. They want that, right? But see, they like the benefits of it, but they don't love the reality of it. And so what I'm going to do with this, right? Like I've done other things, because I don't want nobody to say that I'm cheating. I don't want them to say that I'm cheating. I'm going to so I got a number. I'm gonna go 1 through. I'm going to Google, do a generator. I want y'all to go. Somebody, y'all pick a number 1 through 25. 1 through 25. Just pick a number 1 through 25 and put it in the comments. 1 through 25. Drop your number in the comments, and I'm gonna hold it up. Let's see. Everybody can see that right there. I'm gonna hold it up so you can see, and you will be winning this shirt. My faith t-shirt, fatherly affection initiated through hope. So let's go. We got number 17. Let's see the numbers. All right, 1 through 25. 1 through 25. And whoever wins it, I don't think I would need from you is just your address so that I can put it in the mail to you. So I'll get 1 more minute, 1 through 25. I also want to thank everybody too. So hey, go on YouTube and search The Conversation 9-8. The Conversation 9-8. And like and subscribe to my channel. This video will be uploaded later, but I just want to do this. So I'm about to go right now. Got about 10 more seconds before I will do the generation, do the number generation. All right. So I don't want nobody to say I'm cheating. All right, here we go. That's 14. I don't have a 14. I'm going to go again until I see a number that we have. 24. 24, Nelson. Nelson, how you doing, my brother? So congratulations, Nelson Phillips. Hey, congratulations, man. I need you to just send me your address. I'll send a t-shirt to you in the mail. Hey, I just want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, man, prioritizing yourself for the sake of yourself at the expense of yourself is selfless. Prioritizing yourself for the sake of yourself at the expense of others is selfish, right? Nelson said he good. All right. So he said he good. So we'll just move on and just thank everybody for tuning in. I appreciate everybody for tuning in and looking forward to next week and looking forward to keep this thing going. You guys have a great week. I want to give a shout out to my mom, Miss Deborah Shepherd, Miss Deborah Shepherd. I'm going to say Deborah. Shout out to my mom because this Friday we turning up the heat up here in Fort Drum. But my mom's birthday is coming up this week. This is my mom's birthday week. It's also my niece's birthday. And man, I would tell y'all, man, it's crazy because next Friday on the 18th will be my army birthday. My army anniversary. It'll be my army anniversary. 22 years, guys. 22 years. It's crazy. It don't feel that way. But sometimes it do. My back feel that way. But I just thank you guys for tuning in. And I just want to give an early shout out to my mom. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Now, for those that's tuning in back home in Alabama, I do want to say at Greensboro High School tomorrow from 3 to 4 p.m. at the gym, they're taking donations for the tornado that hit where I lived at when in Alabama, Sawyerville, Alabama. Did a lot of damage down there. So they're taking donations at the high school. I'll be sharing it on my page soon. But also if you go to the Black Belt Experience page, they have that posted up. Also to the Greensboro High School page, they have that posted up. They're looking for blankets, tissue, anything that you think of that people would need that lost everything. And I would say if you've seen those videos or if you Google tornado in Sawyerville, Sawyerville, Alabama, you will see there was a lot of damage that was done. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I really enjoyed the show tonight and the conversation, and we're going to keep this thing going. Looking forward to episode 74. You guys have a great and blessed evening. God bless.